Okay, so I picked a couple problems to do with you guys. Let's start with this first one. Again, your quiz is 5 problems. It's going to look exactly like this. Not identical formatting and all that, but it's going to have the same pieces of information that we'll ask of you. So we're going to ask for the amplitude, the period, the key points, and a graph. Bless you. So let's start with this one. I'll do 1 and 2 on this page, and then I'll maybe do 2 more after that. Let's start with the amplitude. What is our amplitude in this case? 2. Where a lot of you are going to make mistakes is that some of you are going to write -2, right? It is not -2. Keep in mind your amplitude is always, bless you, absolute value of A, and A is whatever is in front of your function. So the absolute value of -2 is just 2. All right, how do we find our period? Okay, so you're going to use the number in front of x. What do you do with that number? Good, right? 2 pi divided by that number. So 2 pi divided by 3. Does that simplify at all? No, so we just leave it alone. All right, and then we want to find key points. What do we do to find those? Okay, so you're going to use these numbers, 0, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1, and you're going to multiply what to those? Yeah, good, the period. So times 2 pi over 3, times 2 pi over 3, times 2 pi over 3, bless you, times 2 pi over 3, times 2 pi over 3. 0 times anything is just 0. All right, so 2 pi times 1 is just 2 pi. And then 4 times 3 is 12. Can we simplify 2 pi over 12? How does that simplify? Good, right? Divide the top and the bottom by 2. All right, and then we can do the same thing here. 1 times 2 pi is just 2 pi. 2 times 3 is 6. Can we simplify that? Pi over 3. All right. 3 times 2 pi is going to get you a 6 pi. And then 4 times 3 is 12. How do we simplify that? Okay, which can simplify more? To pi over 2, right? And then 1 times 2 pi over 3 is just going to get you 2 pi over 3. All right, so the directions say to list 9 key points, 4 to the left, 4 to the right of the center. So there's 0, and then you also have the negatives of what you just found. So negative pi over 6, negative pi over 3, negative pi over 2, and then negative 2 pi over 3. And then so those are the numbers that we're going to list in our key points. If you don't want to rewrite them, you can just circle them and then say those are your key points. Okay, so now we have all of the information that we need. Let's go ahead and label this on a graph. So let's label the amplitude. You are going to have little tick marks like you do here, but you don't have to label them one by one, bless you. If you want to skip a couple, bless you, then you can. Like maybe you want to say that this is 1 and this is 2. That's fine with me. So then this would be -1, this would be -2. And then we can label our key points on the x-axis. We know that this is 0. And then again, you can skip around. You don't have to do tick mark by tick mark, right? So then this is going to be pi over, 6? Pi over 3, pi over 2, and then 2 pi over 3. And then we can do the same thing in the opposite direction. Let's use the negative ones that we found. Negative pi over 6, negative pi over 3, negative pi over 2, and then negative 2 pi over 3. All right, and then this is where you have to memorize the pattern. So labeling that stuff is actually pretty simple. That's half the problem already. All right, now we just have to graph them. Where does sine start? It starts in the middle, right? It starts at 0. And then where do we go from here since it's a negative in front? You're going to go down, right? All the way to the bottom. All right, so that's what the negative does. Even though it doesn't change the amplitude, it does change the direction of the graph. Now we're at the very bottom. Where are we going to go from here? Right, you're going to go up, back to the middle. Are we all the way at the top yet? No, so where should I go now? Up again to the very top. And then you're going to go back down. All right, and then there's there's a sketch of your graph. So there's that side of it. And then you're going to do, yeah, right? So continue that same pattern, right? If you started at the bottom right here, all right, you're going to go up here. And then since you're all the way at the top, you're going to go back down to the middle. You are not yet at the very bottom, so then you're going to sketch a point right there at the very bottom. And then you're going to go back up. All right, so it's going to look something like that. Just like that is perfectly fine with me. I think the directions in your quiz are going to say graph over a 2-period interval. That just means one period is here, and then your other period is right here. So 2-period interval, that's all what that means, right? This is one period, this is another period. If you want to keep it going, you can. Maybe sketch it, it's going to look something like that. That's fine with me. All right, are you okay with that one? Pretty simple, straightforward. Good. Nice. So now let's try number 2. Another one that should be pretty easy. What is our amplitude here? 1. Good. Because there's nothing in front of our cosine, so you assume it's a 1. How do we find our period? 2 pi over 4, the number on the inside, which simplifies to what? Nice, pi over 2. And then you want to find your key points. Just list them out. It's going to be from 0 to 1/4, so I'm going to do 0, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1. And then you're going to multiply all of these numbers by the period. And then doing that is going to get you 0, pi over 8, pi over 4, 3 pi over 8, and then pi over 2. Somebody once asked me, since you know that you're also going to have the negative ones, can you just write plus minus? Yes, you can. If you want to shorten it and make it plus minus, as long as you know that you're going to graph the positive and then you're going to graph the negative, you can just write plus minus. You don't really have to write them twice, as long as it's clear that there are a positive and a negative per key point. And then once again, you don't really have to rewrite them now that you already have them. You can just circle them and say, okay, these are the key points. I'll just write them out anyway. So this is 0 plus minus pi over 8 plus minus pi over 4 plus minus 3 pi over 8. Plus minus 3 pi over 8. And then plus minus pi over 2. When Brianna comes back. All right, so now we can mark the amplitude. Again, doesn't matter where you label it as long as it's the same on the top and the bottom. I'm just going to say it's right here. 1, -1. And then let's mark the key points. It's going to be at 0, pi over 8, pi over 4, 3 pi over 8, and then pi over 2. All right, and then you're going to do the same thing in the other direction. Negative pi over 8, negative pi over 4, negative 3 pi over 8, and then negative pi over 2. All right, are okay with that so far? Pretty easy process. All right. This is a cosine function. Where does cosine start? Right, at the amplitude, right? And if our amplitude is 1, I'm just going to plot a point at the very top. And you're already at the very top, so then you're going to go down to the middle. You're going to go down another step to the very bottom, back up to the middle, and then back up to the very top. So this is what your cosine function should look like. So it looks something like that. So that's one period. To get the other period, do the same thing on the other side. Plot a point, following the exact same pattern. And then you should get something like that. All right, and that's perfectly fine for this particular problem. And then you can continue it if you'd like. I'm not going to be super picky on that. All right, that's perfectly fine for this one. Oh, wait, hang on. Wait, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay, do we see what I forgot? This one had, what did this have? A shift, right? Up 1. Guys. Okay, so we had a shift up 1 unit. So we're going to take every single one of our points and we're going to move it up 1 unit. So I'm going to draw a little tick mark at 2. We're going to move every point up 1 unit. Every single point. All right, so I probably wouldn't have connected the curve right away. So it looks something like that. So the green one's your final curve. And then from there, you can kind of sketch the rest. Yeah, I will. All right, are you okay with that one, guys? Okay, I'll leave it up there for another second. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's try this one. Okay, same process. What's our amplitude? 1/4. All right, what's our period? It's just 2 pi, right? Because there's nothing inside of the x. All right, and this one does have a shift, so in the end, we are going to have to move our graph up 2 units, so just keep that in mind. And then our key points, we're just going to take the period and multiply it by 0 through 1 in quarterly increments. So 0, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1. So times 2 pi times 2 pi, all the way down. And then 0 times 2 pi is just 0. 1/4 times 2 pi should get you pi over 2. 1/2 times 2 pi is just pi. 3/4 times 2 pi is 3 pi over 2. And then 1 times 2 pi is just 2 pi. Keep in mind you are going to have positive and negative points. So I'm just going to write a plus minus in front. And then these are going to be your key points. So I'm going to write key points. Okay. Now let's label this on our graph. Again, doesn't really matter how you label it. I'm just going to say that this is 1/4 and negative 1/4. And then I'll say that this is pi over 2. Pi, 3 pi over 2, and then 2 pi. And then we'll do the same thing in the other direction. So negative pi over 2, negative pi, negative 3 pi over 2, and then negative 2 pi. Okay, this is a cosine function, so where is this going to start? Good, it's going to start at the top at 1/4. So I'm going to plot a point right there. And then our pattern, we're going to go down down to the bottom, up, and then all the way back up. And then we're going to do that same thing in both directions. All right, so go down, back up to the middle, and then all the way to the top. All right, what should I do now with those points? Good, right? This one had a shift. We're going to move all of them up 2 units. All right, I don't know what 1/4 plus 2 is off the top of my head. You might want to write it out, but if you don't want to, that's fine. Just as long as you show that it's shifting a good amount of units, right? Because if this is 1/4, then I'm just going to say that this is 2 plus 1/4 up here, right? It doesn't really matter as long as it's all shifted. I'm not going to be super picky as long as you know that you're going to move the points. That's perfectly fine. Bless you. And as long as your x values are labeled. All right, so every single point we're moving up. And then our graph is going to look something like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. So it looks something like that. All right, pretty easy. Hopefully, right? Okay, and then let's try number 5. Let's actually change it up a bit. I'm going to make it negative for cosine 1/2 x minus 1. All right, so let's make it negative 4. Okay, what is our amplitude going to be? Good, right? It's still just going to be 4. It's just the absolute value of whatever number's in front. All right, how do we find our period? Good, right? 2 pi over 1/2. How would I simplify that? Good, right? So then you would do 2 pi times 2 over 1, which is 4 pi, right? So your period here is 4 pi. And then you want to find your key points: 0, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1. And then multiply the period by all of these numbers. And then we end up with 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and 4 pi. And we're going to use the positive and the negative, so I'm just going to write a plus minus in front of them, just so that we know that we're using all of these points. All right, so those are our key points. All right, our amplitude is 4. I'm just going to mark 4 up here, and then negative 4 down here. And then let's mark our key points. All right, so 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and 4 pi. And then go backwards as well, negative pi, negative 2 pi, negative 3 pi, and negative 4 pi. Okay, this is cosine, so where's it going to start? Okay, so it's going to start at, is it going to be 4 or negative 4? Okay, good. Why is it negative this time? Yeah, right. The original had a negative 4, so cosine isn't going to start at the top. It's going to start at the opposite, so it's going to start down here. Otherwise, your pattern's going to continue, right? You're just going to go up, and then down, and then back down. Same exact thing in the other direction. You're going to go up, all the way up, down, and then all the way down. So then those are the points that we have right now. What should I do with those numbers now? Good, right? They're going to go down 1 unit. So I'm just going to move them down a single unit. So in green, I'm moving everything down just a single unit. Our amplitude is 4, so it's just going to move down just a smidge. All right, all the way down. And then when you connect the dots, it's going to look something like this. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. All right, it looks something like that. All right, are you okay with that one? Shouldn't be too bad. Okay, I'll leave it there for today. I think the rest of you guys are good to keep practicing. They're all pretty much some variation of what we did today. So none of these should be particularly challenging. It's a little bit of a process to get to the final answer, but there's only 5 problems on your quiz. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of a break. I know the last lessons were kind of a lot, so hopefully this one's not too bad. But that's where I'll leave it for today.